Hello everyone, and welcome back to another WARNO tier list. Today with a bit of a different angle, as today we're gonna go over maps, and I decided to go through 1v1 maps and through all 1v1 maps that at some point had been in the ranked pool, and go through it in that way. So I only gonna rank though the most up-to-date version of each maps, as maps like Black Forest, Vertigo, Two Lakes have went through a lot of iterations of the map, so I just gonna rank the latest one. Otherwise, it would have been too complicated. Also, footage would not have been possible. So I just go through that. But still, all the older ones like Chemicals and like Ripple and Death Row are in here as well. So let's start with Black Forest, and that map started at D tier, moved up to C tier, and by now is a solid B tier map in my eyes. It slowly moved up with every little bit of foliage removed, plus the points have been improved a bit as well. By now, even being a bit too much about the area down below in the valley, and maybe a bit too little about the flanks. Though I think it is a pretty decent map. Few points, maybe some up top in the rear would be nice, but that's just the only thing about the map that I would say could still see change. Outside of that, it plays quite decent. I had a good amount of good Black Forest maps by now, and yeah, Black Forest, just in general, a map that I really started to enjoy now. The more I play it, with all matchups being pretty interesting on it. So yeah, Black Forest being a B tier map here. Vertigo, a map that got a good bit of rework over the time as well, being here as the next map. And Vertigo was always one of my favorite maps. I would put it above Black Forest tier and B tier. I would say it would be A tier if it would have rear zones in the north. Without rear zones in the north, currently it's only B tier. I really love what they did to the cover and so on this map. Like, that is really fun now. What I don't like currently is the zone layout, and it is not as terrible for me as some other feel about it, but I still feel like some rear zones here would be nice. In general, also once more a map that has too few points in general. I'm not a big fan of 8 points on the map. I would like it to be around 10 to 12 ratio, like the 15, 16 point zones that we had early on in WARNO's history. They were way too fast as well. They were pretty garbage and worse than the 8 pointers, but 7 and 8 pointers I feel like are too low. 9, 10, 11, 12, that's where I like the maps to be, from their speed and also the comeback potential later in the game. And yeah, Vertigo has that lacking a bit as well. With, if you were behind, you're basically having to capture the whole map in the last couple of minutes to be able to come back. Then we come to Airport, and Airport might be a bit controversial here, but Airport for me is an A tier map. Airport, I like the middle zone layout. It's another 8 pointer. That's holding it from S tier for me, but I actually really enjoy how wide the map is and how you can play it while still having some town for town fights and infantry fights, having some open territory for big tonks, having rear zones that are pushable both directions, though one a bit more than the other, and having in general just 4 contested zones, which also makes it a bit faster than the other 8-pointer maps, so it's not as much of a grind later on in the game usually, and comebacks on Airport absolutely possible, absolutely seen in League and in Ranked. So Airport, for me, a really enjoyable map. I know it's not liked by people who play a bit slower, and also the airplay can be annoying on it, but as I think it's still a really, really fun map, and currently maybe the favorite in the map pool that we have right now for me. But yeah, that is obviously controversial. And then we come to a map where saying that I don't like it might not be so controversial. That is Chemicals. On the latest iteration, they have given us a bit more room on the open side, and they have removed a bit of foliage. When it was in the pool, it was a D tier map. It might be somewhat C tier like now. I'm still not the biggest fan of the zone layout, and I'm still not the biggest fan of the map in general. It has a decent amount of points, but the zone layout and the whole pushing into each other in the foresty area is still keeping it in higher D tier now. I think it's an improvement. It's not good enough for me to ask for it to come back into the ranked pool or anything like that in this shape. I think there are some ideas if you move it to stuff to the other side or so, or maybe moving it corner to corner or something like that. I don't know. Like chemicals, maybe there's a place for it to improve. But currently, I still am not a big fan of the map, though it has slightly improved. Then we come to Mount River, and here we come to one of my biggest gripes right now, the removal of this map from the ranked pool, because I really enjoyed the map. I didn't expect to enjoy the map because we will come to another map later that I thought is similar with Two Lakes, which I don't love all that much. But Mount River, I actually really enjoy. And I also found that in League, when we have it, it played way more varied than expected, with pushes on the other side, with grabs early on for the middle, with slow pushes, with deep pushes into the +2 zone in the enemy rear, and so on. The map could be improved. That's also keeping it from anywhere close S tier, with some more flanking opportunities, I think. There is that one road, there would be one going up from the other side, coming up. It would be nice if there would be a road on the other side of the river, so that there might be some room there, or even at least deforested areas, so that you go there with off-road speed instead of forest reduced speed, so that there is some maneuverability there. Like, there are a couple of rooms that Mount River could be improved. Currently, it's still a good map. I really enjoy it, and I'm sad that it is out of the ranked pool, and I feel like there are other maps that could be pushed out, like Two Lakes, that Mount River is better as. And yeah, then we come to another map, which is one of the OGs with Two Ways. Has been around for a long while, not currently in the ranked pool. Has a lot of points, and that's, I guess, what keeps it out of the ranked pool right now. Plus, the town balance on it always was a bit iffy. With the reworks of the roads on it, though, and with the slight restructuring in general, I started to like it. I started off with it being one of my least favorite ranked maps. In the end, I felt both sides were feeling decent, and the center bigger zone allowed for some nice stuff there as well. But outside of that, yeah, the Two Ways really played pretty decently. So I kind of want to like to see it back, though I get that its layout and points might not work out for the current tick system, but in that case, just reduce some of them to +2s. Like, make the center +2, make the others a +1s, and then you have a 10-point zone. Like, I think that would work out, and then we could get Two Ways back. Like, obviously, with its 15 pointers, it's too much, but just reduce it a bit, and then get it back to us. And then we have Death Row, a map that I never really enjoyed, and that I still don't really enjoy now. I think it's a decent map. I think it absolutely is supposed to be in the game for good reason, because Death Row is the basic. It's easy to learn. It gives you a decent amount of coverage whilst not overwhelming new players. It being in ranked, I don't think needs to be the case. But it should be the beginner map, and it should be kind of advertised as that. So yeah, Death Row, I really don't like to play on, and I also am not the biggest fan of spectating the current version of it. There were some moves made to try to improve it. They didn't really work out. So yeah, Death Row here, C tier map. I think there could be a couple of things with the sidelines, but then it wouldn't be the beginner map anymore if you would start to make it so that there can be shenanigans on the side and so on. So maybe just make another map that is that, and then bring that to the map pool, because keep the beginner map to the beginners, that's totally fine. And just don't bring it back to the rank pool. C tier here, it's okay, but I'm not wanting it back. Geyser. Yeah, it's tough. I loved the base area of Geyser. I liked the engagements on Geyser, but obviously the zones are so cursed and so one-sided that it is not possible to love Geyser in the end. Like, I really loved the engagements we had on that map. We had some fantastic league games on the map, only that the outcome of the game often didn't represent what actually happened, with the side that should have lost winning and so on, and that keeps Geyser in low C tier, because the balance is just such a hard hindrance. I really would love to see the map slightly recutted with the zones and maybe slightly different spawn zones. I'm not quite sure how to fix it. I feel like there should be a way to fix it. I don't think it's that far off, but it is off, and that keeps it for sure out of ranked capable capacity in its current shape, and currently off for sure also out of any tournaments. But I really enjoyed fighting on it, which kind of keeps it out of D tier for me, but still a C tier map that I really don't like to play on ranked on, though really loved to watch. And then Two Lakes, that's another C tier map for me. Maybe like my heart would even put it into D tier. The mind says it's not as terrible as I feel it is, and a lot of others feel it is, because we have seen way too much of it by now. It never going out of ranked rotation is weird. Like, it was never a popular map. They tried to fix it multiple times. They changed the zonings, they changed the points, they changed the cover on it, they changed some roads on it, they changed the spawn zones on it. Nothing worked, because I believe in its core, this map just can't really work. It doesn't really matter where the points are. You can't make it a cool map. It has a bit too little playable area because of its two major lake features. If you could maybe go around the lakes, like if the other shoreline of the lake would be on the map as well, and you could just drive around them, there might be some ideas. If they would be a bit smaller, maybe. And also the two towns, if they wouldn't be just as monumental blockers there. Like, even if you move the zones away there, it will still be about these two towns that you have to go through, and they're impossible to go through, or really hard to go through. We have had some interesting ideas, like some pure Tanner games and so on, that were entertaining, that were a bit fresh, but they were so memorable because we are used to having the same old slog on Two Lakes. Like, there are some interesting pushes through the town. Also, the balance at the moment is off. Like, one side is feeling a lot stronger than the other, and forward deploy is also quite a lot stronger than on other maps. And then, yeah, it's just feels off. Like, Two Lakes, no, not a good map. Then we come to Loop, and yeah, I didn't like Loop at the first because it was imbalanced, but I liked the idea of the map. I liked actually the big zones on the map, and I feel like Loop is a good showcase of big zones being able to work. They could be a bit smaller than they are on the current version of Loop, but they can work. I also like the current reshuffling of Loop for 1v1. I don't like it for 10v10. The town in the center has way too little cover for 10v10. It has the right amount of cover now for 1v1. And that actually puts Loop for me into B tier here now, because I really enjoyed playing it. Like, it was fresh because you had those different flanks and a lot of movement. You had a bit of backline shenanigans as well, though it never felt quite as much. Air was really strong on it, a bit too strong on it. That's one of the issues there. It has too many points for the current idea of balancing behind everything. I don't think it's too big of an issue on this map, though, as a lot of it is in the rear zones, so it's hard to get there, and it's not too fast ticking usually, actually. So I don't think it's that much of an issue if you would make the rear zones a bit smaller, whilst keeping the frontal zones big, uh, so that the rear zones are a bit easier to defend, and not as much shenanigans can happen there. Like, reduce that shenanigans a bit, and the map would be totally fine in my eyes. And I like loop. So, yeah, bring back loop. I'm on that team, though slightly reworked. But I think the center rework already helped with that, so it's not that much work actually to go, in my eyes, to bring us loop back. Then we come to Hessa, which is another A tier from the fighting territory for my eyes. Another B tier when it comes to the zones. Or when the zones C tier, map A tier. I really enjoy watching the fights on this map. I really enjoy maneuvering on the map. The zones are just slightly off. I don't even think they're that far off. Like, I don't think it needs that much more zones on it. And I'm not quite sure where it would need more zones on it. I just feel like it needs more zones on it. Like, I like that it actually has no zones on the sides, so that those are there to maneuver, and that not both sides are forced to overinvest into the sides as well and spread super thin. I like actually that it is somewhat focused, but I feel like it needs somewhere in the town area another zone or two to make that part of the map slightly more important. It could maybe even be 2 more rear zones behind the zones we already have there. But I'm not quite sure where it needs them. It just feels like it needs them. It's another 8-pointer that feels really grindy, and because of all zones being in one player's ballpark, you have to push really, really deep into there, and that is a problem. Like, that is a real problem, and that really makes the game, the map, uncomfortable and a bit baity into you let the enemy grind out, or you rush into the enemy, get a couple of points, and then just play defensive 300 points tick for the next 35 minutes and just let them run into you and die. And yeah, that doesn't feel cool. And so that's the issue with Hesse. Whilst it has a lot of room for shenanigans, and we had some really, really awesome fights on it. And like, some of my favorite games in this season of League have happened so far in Hesse. It has some issues, and I think it's mostly something with the zone layout. I don't have the perfect idea in mind. Let me know down below if you have one. And yeah, let's move on to the final map that somehow is eligible for this list, and that is Ripple. And the Ripple that we had when it was in ranked pool was even worse than what we have here right now, because it was completely open in the middle. So it was a map with really annoying flanks on the sides, because flanking back then was even stronger, and you had all those foxes and so on going through these annoying forests. Plus, you had an absolute open field of death as the middle zone. Like, it was an absolute disaster for 2v2 already. And then if you count that you're struggling to get a cohesive combined arms onto the battlefield in 1v1, it made it an even bigger disaster in 1v1. It was pulled out of ranked pool really quickly, so props for at least reacting to the community in that regard. Though still, I have no idea how the map ended up in the ranked pool ever. It should have never been there. It still isn't ready for it. Like, the current layout is still, it's an acceptable 2v2 layout now. I actually enjoy my Ripple 2v2s when I see them now. Never again do I want to play it on 1v1. Like, never again. It isn't just too many weird real line action opportunities. Line of sights on this map are also kind of cursed. The balance is not really great. The center is still a bit of a cluster F, and it's, yeah, the Ripple is not the map I want to ever play again. And I think it's not really savable. Like, when I feel like, look at chemicals, I think there's opportunity to maybe save it. Ripple, I don't see that. Like, at least not without cutting off parts of it and then really doing weirdly, but then it might just be kind of death rowy, which is not great either, as I went through earlier. So just keep Ripple out. So yeah, let me know down below what you think of this tier list. Is there any map that you really love and would put into S tier? Because for me at the moment there kind of isn't. A couple of maps could get there with better layouts. I'm really excited for the map editor to see what we can get around with that, and more maps from Eugen as well. And it's really amazing that Eugen is working on that hard. So yeah, let me know down below what you think about this, and see you all next time, guys. Bye bye, and have a great day.